We're going to modify here. Okay. Sorry for the headache. Let's get started. I know you only got half an hour, so let's hit it hard. And hope you're doing safe, you and your family. I really appreciate you joining us.
You too.
We got 18 coaches watching as of right now. So with this time, how do you work with the athletes? Are you in contact with them day by day? Is it, check in once a week? Like how are you doing things in this time that we're not necessarily prepared for?
Yeah, well, I got the athletes at the University of Georgia in Canada, so it's a lot different for both. I mean, the Georgia athletes they're obviously younger and they're with us every single day, all year long. So we're checking in a lot more formally with them. And with Canada, I feel like we have like 5 different WhatsApp threads. So between there's something going on every day. But between our IST staff, our sports psych, making sure just they're safe logistically. They've had either like a Zoom call or some like meaningful check-in once or twice a week so far, at least. But we know where everybody is and we know what they're doing, and we're starting to slowly move forward.
So is there any long-term plans for you guys, or like with let's talk about the national team. Obviously the Richmond Oval is closed right now due to government regulations. Obviously these athletes are high performance athletes, so they're doing what they need to do to, stay fit and stuff like that. But is there a lot more mental training happening right now rather than physical training, just because people are so secluded from the world?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of what we're trying to figure out. I mean, it's only been 3 weeks, and you got to remember these girls are coming from all over the world in different places. So it took 2 weeks just to get an account of everyone and make sure that they were back in Canada. And then there was challenges with that. So really, the next big step is figuring out what's happening with Nations League. It's not looking great at the moment, but trying to figure that out. And then once we get some kind of semblance of a date, like the rest of the world is kind of waiting for, we can attack that a lot better. But right now we're just trying to give them resources. Like I said, with the sports psych, and our strength coaches had a webinar 2 days ago where they gave them, workouts they could do at home. And, it's like everybody else, you're kind of scrambling, doing the best you can to provide the support you can. But it really was about, is everybody okay? And now it's like, okay, let's find out what the next date is. And then planning gets a lot easier after that.
Right. So let's kind of go back in time here when the world was normal, and chat about, last summer's, tournaments and whatnot with the national team. Do you have any insight on, you guys were very close to making the Olympics, just, one game off type of thing, on that backdoor road. What are your thoughts on how things went? What are your sights looking forward?
Yeah, I mean, lots of thoughts. We can go wherever you want to go with it. But we had a heartbreaker 5-set loss to Puerto Rico on the first night. We got a gift with Mexico taking Dominican to 5, which gave us a chance to get in points. Dominican's obviously a great team. Lost to them in 4 in Dominican. And then, beat Mexico. So, we were close, but not close. And, it's been one of my jobs is just evaluating all those lessons and trying to get it going into what's the plan going forward, short term and long term. And, so we can go wherever you want to go.
No, fair enough. Okay, well, what sort of advice would you have for, let's kind of, based on the situation we're in, you're our national team coach. I know that Glenn Hogue, passes a lot of information on to, the clubs and universities so that we're all speaking the same language. Now that you've been a part of the, Canadian program here for over a year, is there anything that you think we as coaches should be working on more, or that we're overlooking, so that when you deal with the athletes, when they get to you, hopefully one day, they're more prepared?
Yeah, there's so many parts to that, and that's definitely one of my biggest priorities for sure. And I think it's a two-way street. It's the coaches on the national team level and the coaches of the junior team level, just us continuing to find better ways to streamline. I think, a big step, having Shannon Windsor with the net program has been a big step forward. Because what we're really seeing with Canada volleyball, there's just in terms of the international development of a player, there's been we talked about this last time, but there's just been a black hole for the college age kid in terms of getting them to the international events, getting them in those international reps that they need.
Right.
U Sports schedule is a little more conducive to it, but not perfect in NCAA. That definitely isn't. So trying to find answers to that, and then getting the youth national and the Canadian national teams linked, and that's definitely not an issue in terms of willingness. It's just a streamline. So I think with this pause, we have a lot of things in the works. We want to develop a webinar series, that we can get out, throughout Canada. Like I said, Shannon's done a ton of work getting in front of club coaches at all the different provinces. So we want to build on those relationships. And if things get really slow this summer in terms of what we can do competitively, we have some ideas we're working on in terms of like how could we train our teams and make sure it's something that other coaches could visit and maybe do some coaches clinics around it. But that's just stuff that's all in the works. But that's one of the opportunities of this slower competitive time is maybe putting some stuff in place that'll help us get the exposure both ways, the national team with the junior coaches and vice versa. And, we just need time to get together and talk shop and, share our systems and see what we can learn.
No, fair enough. Okay. Well, actually I got Shannon Windsor watching this right now, and she has a question. Why pivot setting? What are the benefits? What are some important keys when teaching young setters that technique?
I think in general, I just like to think of concepts that Shannon might not be familiar with and just throw it on her, because I just like to see when she gets really frustrated and worked up. So that's really the main point of pivot setting. I think basically, just kind of starting from ground zero. If you're approaching a ball as a setter, you really have three choices, right? You can try to jump to it. You can try to put 2 feet down, put the brakes up so you can put the brakes on so you can score up early. Or you can go off of a lead leg and rotate. So, when you look at it that way, I'm oversimplifying here, but the pivot is going to be the most efficient in terms of maintaining speed off the net. You don't have to slow down like you do if you put 2 feet down. If you jump to it, which has its place for sure, but if you jump to it, you're obviously losing power and you're getting a little more committed in the choice you have to make. So pivoting allows us to have more momentum to the ball than if we were putting the brakes on, and then that rotation gives us torque, which produces power and lets us set balls to further distances. So it just becomes this really efficient move that we can use all the time. And it's not easy to teach, but it's a simple move, and it's a move the setter can make every single time. They can just pivot or just jump set, and there's not 50 different approaches for 50 different sets. So there's lots and lots of benefits to it that we found over time.
Fair enough. Okay. Now, so a secondary question. Corey Kelper is one of the assistant coaches at Ambrose College here in Calgary. He goes, do you find that are there any dangers to knee issues with pivot setting for injuries and whatnot?
No, I think there's more issues if you're trying to run full speed and put the brakes on. Like I said, there's no way you can run fast to a ball, put 2 feet down, and have a smooth move out of that, right? So anytime you're coming to like an abrupt halt, it's a little bit opposite of how the body is built. So again, that's if you put 1 foot down and you start to rotate, as soon as that foot's down, you're transferring energy into the next move, which is a lot more efficient. So I've never seen a knee issue on a pivot ever.
Okay.
I've seen some obliques get sore just from trying to rotate. But,
right.
I think that's just a matter of getting stronger, or a function of getting stronger.
So working on setters, and we'll stay on the setter bandwagon here.
Okay.
What are some cue points regarding when the contact, the release point, how high that ball should be at the highest peak for like a normal pin shot? So are setters aiming for the top of the antenna as kind of a rough spot to have that ball at the highest point, or a foot above the antenna, under the antenna? And
that's a great question. So,
yeah.
As you progress up in levels in volleyball, the setter becomes more and more important. And what we found is, especially at the international level, you can almost get predictive with the location of the set in terms of what the hitting efficiency is going to be based on the location. So if you're so on the left side set, we have two different speeds. We have a go speed, which is the hitter on their second step. It's faster. And then we have a hut, which is the hitter on the first step, and there's more shape to that set. But we want to set, if you go, to where the antenna and the net meet, we want to be a meter in and a meter off from that. So that, we're 3 feet by 3 feet. That's kind of the magic spot where hitters are really efficient, because if you leave it a little inside and you keep it a little bit off, hitters can build momentum at an angle, and they got a lot more range. They can hit angle, they can hit line. So that 3 by 3 is a big deal. And it's amazing as you move a meter in any direction how much the hitting efficiency drops of hitters. So we're definitely stressing that location with speed, which is the tough part. Having the speed and location together is such a big part, such a big challenge of developing a setter.
So what age group, there's a lot of obviously club coaches on Volleyball Coaches of Canada. When would be, every kid's different, of course. But what would be a good age group to start, getting the basics of pivot setting down? Is it U16? Is it U14? Is it U17, 18, right?
So everything, we want our methods to be based on principles. So, we get our principles from science, and one of those is biomechanics. So the body moves how the body moves. So I'm going to get this going when the kid starts. Now if they're, if they're between 5 to 8 years old, there's not going to be any passes that are even settable, right? They're just shooting off everywhere. But once the game stabilizes a little bit, where you do have somebody who can realistically pass and set, then torque is more efficient for anyone at any age. That's a principle. So, we want our fundamental movements to come from biomechanics. So a good fundamental movement should be biomechanically sound. If it's not, then we're kind of coaching voodoo a little bit. So,
right.
So as soon as they can play the game, like with any kind of repeatability, I want to get that move going.
Okay. Barry McLean has a question here. Is there a women's national team blog link where your players are actively commenting that we can share with our club athletes? And I think the answer would probably be Instagram, wouldn't it?
Well, between our 5 to 7 WhatsApp threads, like I was saying, there's something going on all the time. But we would actually love more support of that too. So Jen Cross does a great job putting together the WNT. It's on Twitter and it's on Instagram.
Yeah,
there's lots of cool content on that, and we can definitely do more Q&As with our players, like interactive, question and answer. We'd love to do that kind of stuff. So if people would follow that and spread the word, that would help us, and it would help us and hopefully help you as well.
So moving forward with your university team, is there any talks about, the season being canceled next year or postponed, or has it got to that point yet?
We're talking about everything.
Yeah.
So, nobody wants to do that. I think there's two big revenue sources for the NCAA that kind of everything hinges on a lot. One is football season and the other is the basketball season. So basketball already took a hit, so that's going to affect a lot of, mid-major schools and smaller schools. And then these higher revenue schools, football doesn't happen. You're really going to see waves. Now what that looks like, I don't know. But I know athletic directors, they're on calls every single day trying to figure out things as best they can. And but if you're an NCAA volleyball fan, I think the first priority is kind of see what's going to happen with football, and that's going to that'll shape what will happen or what's available with volleyball. But there's so many talks going on. Everyone's trying to figure out models as best they can, but that's really going to be a defining thing is what happens with football.
Okay, I got another question here. Chad Grimm, he's the head coach of Thompson River University in Kamloops, BC. He's an awesome guy. I know Volleyball Canada has pushed for triple ball at the younger ages for development reasons at the club level. Would they take this further and start pushing small side games 3v3 or 4v4 at club level to get more touches?
I don't know. Like I said, that's been a huge positive that Shannon's integrated into our program, is creating that link with the lower age groups, and that's definitely one of my huge priorities is getting more open channels of communication. I'd love to be able to have more feedback in there, and I definitely have some strong beliefs. You know, no matter what, I can just kind of go back to the principles here. No matter what games we devise, 70% of the winners and losers will be determined by the serve and pass game. No matter what so we can create whatever drills we want, but the principle isn't going to change. The game is going to be won by serving and passing, and winning the battle on the left side hitter. So I can't stress enough the need to develop serving and passing as early as possible, as often as possible. Now there's obviously a challenge with that, right? Because my kid can't serve over the net, so we can lower the net, we can lighten the ball, we can shorten the court, but those mechanics have got to get in place as quickly as possible. Because while we're not doing it, the rest of the world is. And so I just can't encourage enough, whatever games we're devising, to make sure those kids are serving and passing. So that would be my 2 cents, and I'd love to have more discussions of that and figure out how we can get that going.
I know, actually, the next question's from Ryan Hofer, the Trinity Western women's head coach. His wife. Oh, okay, fair enough. Ryan's awesome.
He's awesome. Yeah.
But his wife actually runs a really successful program in BC. With I think they do some 4-on-4 type of stuff or 3-on-3, but it's with U8 to 12 athletes, and it's sold out all the time. So it's obviously it's good. We're good that we're getting kids in. So here's Ryan's question. Ask about point scoring. What are some of the most important shots you want your middles, outside hitters, and then right side players to develop? So let's start with middle.
Middle is just being able to move the ball, wrist away and cut back. I think the ideal. I don't know if there's any middle in the world that can do it, but you have your different quick sets, and you want your middle to be able to go wrist away, cut back, and have a nasty tip on all those sets. So that's where. So just developing the fundamentals that allow them to have that. That's the priority. I think the right side hitter and the slide hitter as well. That's a little fortunate that the easiest shot for the slide hitter is actually really effective, that cross-court shot, for a bunch of reasons I can get into if you want. And the right side hitters, we want them to be able to hit the area 1 and area 5 corner. And then we want to try to develop a sharp angle shot, and then a roll shot where they're selling like they're going to hit and then do a little roll shot.
Right.
The left side hitters, we want them the same thing. We want to be able to hit the area 1, the area 5 corner. We want them to be able to hit that 1-6 seam, which is almost always open on a fast set, because the middle those are always late arriving.
Okay.
And then the tip isn't super important. We want to be able to sell hit and have a roll shot to deep to area 1, a little roll shot over the middle blocker, and then the other thing that's really important is we want them to be able to wipe. So there's lots of shots in the toolbox that we want to develop, and it takes a lot of work for sure.
Okay, right on. What percentage of server/receive passing do you need before starting to run plays? So I guess this would be aimed more at a club level type of coach that could be development to turning into competitive. We're in that transition phase.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So this is a theme of a webinar I'm doing with my UGA team right now. So here's my opinion. Plays don't matter. Plays don't matter nearly as much as how often you can be in system matters, and how sound your fundamentals are. So if I'm in system a lot, every play I run is going to be pretty good, right? It's going to be as good as my setters and hitters. So now that, with that having said, every rotation we want to have a plan A and a plan B. Like, this is our main play in rotation 1. This is our secondary play in rotation 1, and then going through all 6 rotations. But the plays you're running aren't nearly as important as how often you're in system and how sound are your fundamentals, right? So if I can pass well and set fast, and my hitters have these really repeatable approaches, and my setters in this really repeatable location, we're going to be really effective, right? So even it's not so much knowing what I'm doing as much as it is how well I'm doing it. So again, now we're gonna have our middle hitter's gonna run a tight quick and a quick further away, and every once in a while we'll run a crossing play. But I think one thing I would want to avoid as a coach is just putting the cart before the horse. But spending time on plays, for instance, if we're tossing balls over the net and running plays, while another coach is serving and passing and running plays off of that live serve and pass, obviously there's going to be a lot more transfer running the plays off the serve and pass. So a lot more of it is the quality of our serve and pass, how sound our fundamentals are, and that's going to dictate the effectiveness of our plays.
Okay.
A lot more than just how many plays we're running.
Fair enough. Now, Fraser runs a club out here in Calgary, Elite West, pretty successful boys club. He asking, can you elaborate on the wrist away concept when you were talking about the middle hits?
Sorry, wrist away is just that common, away body, wrist away towards, in between areas 4 and 5, that kind of sharp angle shot.
Gotcha. Okay. Nope.
So
Perfect.
most hitters are wrist away hitters, because especially if you're on the left side of the court, the ball's traveling towards you, your arm swing is going to meet it. So most hitters are naturally wrist away. There are a few hitters who are naturally kind of cross body that tend to be more on the right.
Okay.
It's not so much of our development as coaches. We're trying to get hitters away from this and getting them higher on that contact, right? So.
Okay. Yeah. No, for sure. We're jumping all over the spectrum here, Tom. How long were you with the junior college before getting the opportunity assistant coach with USC, and what helped you the most? Vincenzo. I'm going to probably say his name wrong. So Vincenzo Saporito. If that name rings a bell, I don't know. Not for me. I don't know who he is.
I'm just surprised he knew that.
Oh.
So how long was I at the junior college before I got an opportunity?
Yeah. Becoming an assistant.
2 years.
Just 2 years. What helped you to be the most successful at USC?
USC. I don't know how successful I was. I think I learned more at USC than I was actually successful at USC. I learned a lot about being an assistant and what makes a program effective versus, what maybe to do different. That was a high learning curve moment for sure. I'm not sure how successful I was. I know I worked really hard and I tried some things, but I definitely learned a lot from those 2 years.
Fair enough. Okay. Again, jumping all over the spectrum here. What are the differences? And I think we touched on this a little bit, but what are the differences in your experience with regards to youth athlete development in USA volleyball to Canadian volleyball? That's a loaded question.
well, yeah, I don't want to paint with a broad brush. I've been hitting it. It's one of my main goals. I'm still learning about Canadian youth volleyball, and
Sure.
I'm excited to learn. And I want to I want to have way more conversations than I have had with junior coaches. And I was visiting the club in Calgary, Defensa, and it was awesome just sitting with Rob and hearing his take on things. I learned a ton, so I'm excited to have more of those conversations.
Oh, Rob, yeah, Defensa in Ontario, yeah.
Ontario, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So it's not, to me, what are the differences in the coaches? Because I think that's painting with way broader brush. Like I could say American coaches are like this, and there's immediately a ton of people who are not like that at all. So it's not about that. It's way more to me like, how do we get Canada and the world to lead?
Yeah. And
a lot of that is on me, and the more linked up we can be with the juniors, the better. So like with that, one of the advantages the States clearly has is the depth of players, right, playing the game, and just the natural competitiveness that's going to come with that many people playing. If you have that many people playing, to get to a point where you're the cream of the crop, you got to fight through that, right? Now, maybe Canada doesn't quite have that depth of players, but I think the advantage Canada has is where we can be a closer knit community, right? Because we're not tiny, but because we're smaller, we can communicate faster, we can get to know each other quicker, we can get on the same page faster. So that really is a huge priority. Like definitely Shannon's one of her primary jobs, and it's one of my biggest priorities, is getting that link stronger, quicker, so we can use the smaller knit community to our advantage, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I think it's gotten better, especially since this Volleyball Coaches of Canada page, with 700 members now. And this is only probably, a year and a half old, 2 years old type of thing. But I think more like I went to the NCAA Final Four this year, and that conference that they put on was absolutely insane. It was amazing. The best thing that I've done as a coach. And, you know, to try to do something like that in Canada, it's probably a bit far-fetched at this point, but, you know, we can start somewhere type of thing, right? So I hope to see some form of that happen at our nationals. Unfortunately, our youth sport nationals got canceled due to the COVID-19. So, but yeah, no networking.
That a little bit. I think I don't think we need to spend, we being in Canada, I don't think we need to spend any time thinking about what the NCAA has over us or what the rest, but I do think we need to spend a lot of time thinking, is everything under our control being maximized, right? You know, so
fair, yeah.
I think there's a lot about the U Sports National Championship event that we could tweak a little bit and get a lot more excitement and attention around it. And I think that's what matters. And then you do that, you get more coaches, you get more players, and then things start growing. But I think that's really where our focus could be. And I think there's some upgrades that don't require money.
Agreed.
Could get a lot of excitement around our sport.
Okay, next question here. I'm just bombarding you. Sorry, Tom. I know we're running out of time here. What do you look for when selecting assistant coaches and members of your staff?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking for the right fit. You know, and I think it depends on, you know, all jobs are not the same, right? So Volleyball Canada is a much different job than University of Georgia, which is a much different job than a junior college or a Division II job or a high school job. So I think a lot of times you're limited by the constraints of your situation. So, you know, I mean, I was a high school coach. I couldn't go get whoever I wanted. I just had to get anyone who wanted to help, right? You know, so you're just trying to get the best person who fits what you're trying to do with the resources you have to offer, you know, and I think that means different things at different levels. So, yeah.
All right.
I'm not trying to be vague, but I think we'll start with that, and then I'm happy to go wherever you want with it.
I got a question that's more probably a parent point of view. Again, not a parent, but dealing with so many parents. Parents think that their kids have to be on a Div 1 team all the time, every time, to be, seen and recruited to U Sport or NCAA. When you were an assistant coach, probably there was more recruiting type of things that you did, you know, or do you pass on the recruiting stuff to assistant coaches and recruiters while you head coach?
I have I've got two assistants. One of them focuses on training, one focuses on recruiting, but recruiting is half my job. That's so a huge part of the job for sure.
In US they have the Club Open, and they got, I think, a third one in there somewhere, or US Sport or US Open or Elite Open or something like that. How effective do you feel that system is in regards to recruiting? I mean, if a kid's good, you're going to find them one way or another. So, but I know that parents think that they have to be on for us here, there's, in Alberta, it's just one system. And there's Div 1, Div 2, Div 3, Div 4, Div 5. And God forbid if you're Div 2, 3, 4, or 5, parents will crucify you and burn you on the stake. So, what do you think the best system is for youth sports so that you guys can recruit properly and kids can optimize their abilities?
I'm going to have to spend a little more time thinking on what the best system is. And I think we're in a position where I think when we get out of the situation we're in the world, I think everything's going to be different.
Agreed.
So I'm going to have to spend a little more time on what the best system is. I think we've gotten to, I'm speaking from the States, we've gotten to a point now where the sport is so huge. And there are so many players and it is nationwide. You just, as a college coach, you just have to work your butt off to get to see all the kids that need to be seen, and communication from I think we were relying on the club coaches more than we ever have.
Right.
Because there's just too many kids. Like, hey, just tell me what kids you're looking at, and we got to organize as best we can. And I think things are going to change a little bit as we get out of this. We'll see it. So, what the best system is really hard for me to answer right now.
Yeah, it's a big question.
but it's important. It's something I would like to think about. But in terms of the parent thing you talked about, I think one thing. So just kind of, just to turn it back on the club coaches for a second. I think there's a difference between, okay, hey, I'm a coach and I've got to be able to do my job and execute my job, and you can't question every little thing I do. that's fair to the point where I'm God and I'm right because those are the choices I made. So I think as coaches, I do think there has to be a little bit of humility. Like, am I making the right choices? Am I doing everything I can to get the best information and to have an effective communication link with the parents? Because the parents are your customers, right?
Right.
Now that can absolutely go too far, and it does go too far. And I've been right in the middle there as a club coach and a high school coach. So I think the most important part of the whole equation, because obviously I've got a couple daughters and I'm homeschooling. You know, I got to talk to her teacher all the time right now, especially with me being my kid's teacher. I think the most important part in the whole equation, if I'm a parent and I'm unhappy with the situation, is am I clear on what my kid needs to do to develop into the opportunity we want her to have? And I think the mindset is, why doesn't my kid have what she wants, right? And that's going to lead to a world of hurt. And if it's if the attitude is, why doesn't my kid have what she wants, which is like a source of frustration. I mean, we all feel that at times as parents, but there's no learning in that thought. I'm not trying to learn anything. I'm not trying to have my kid into any opportunity. I'm not even trying to have my kid earn an opportunity. I'm just trying to impose my will on the club coach and get what I want. And there might be some short-term satisfaction, but the long-term sacrifice, obviously, is my kid doesn't grow. I just kind of pushed and squeaky wheel, got the grease there.
Yeah. Yeah.
The important thing is my kid or I, and that's the other thing to answer, is this about my kid or is this about myself? But let's just say it's about the kid. Like, she's really driven and she wants the top thing. Okay, my kid wants this and she's this. Where's the gap? Do I understand the gap? And that's where the coach comes in. And as a parent, I need to be working with the coach. Like, hey, like what do you see in my daughter? Where does she need to grow, right? And okay, well, she needs hitting this. All right, well, can she come in for extra work? Blah blah blah. And then you got to stay out of it at that point. That's it.
No,
you know? It's
you're preaching to the choir on that one, Tom. I get it. I hear you.
The issue is not. But I think what gets lost in this, if I'm a club coach in that battle, and I've definitely been in those battles.
Yeah.
Like, everybody loses perspective. Like, the parent just gets fixated on what they want. The coach gets to the point where, like, I just want you off my back. And it's not even about considering how she needs to develop at that point, right?
Yeah.
And so as a parent, you really got to understand you're the driver in this. Like, what's getting lost in this is the kids' development. They're learning all the wrong things, right? They're learning how to, that when I get frustrated, I need to complain. Someone's going to do it for me. I'm not going to have to really earn what all the growth is being taken out of this equation. So that's where it really takes a lot of discipline as a parent. Like, hey, like, how do I handle this in a way that my kid gets what she earns and she learns what she needs to do to grow? That's got to be the deal. And
right.
Yeah, I'm sure you found out that's where, like, those initial parent-coach meetings at the beginning of the year are so important.
Oh, totally. Yeah, 100%. Right? Yeah. Tom, can we bug you for 10 more minutes and then we'll call her?
Let's do 10 more minutes.
Okay. Chad from TRU again. What would you suggest as the single most important change to U Sport Nationals to make it bigger, better, and a more followed event? If you had to change one thing right off the top of your head.
Single elimination is the easy one. If you are in the national championship event, then you're obviously good and you had a good season. So we don't need to set up consolation prizes. It's a single elim event. It's a lot more exciting for everybody, for the coaches, the players, for the fans. I can keep going from there. I got a lot
okay.
But that's the first thing I would do.
Okay, fair enough. Next question is, hold on here. Brian from Smash Volleyball in Vancouver. Can you ask about what VC is doing to increase female coaches and their importance in the sport?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the important kind of peripheral focuses that we definitely want to get to over time. I think the most important thing is our national team being more successful. I think that's the most important thing, right? I think everything stems, and we know that's on us. The more successful we are, the more marketable we are, the more out there we are, the more excitement we create, and the more opportunities we create. So that really is number one. And hopefully, as we establish that, we can create more learning opportunities, coaching opportunities, and we very much want, every single athlete in our national team program, I would love to have my daughter play for, so that's not the issue at all. But there's so many things we want to do to grow this sport, and it all starts with us having more success and more success consistently. And then from there, we create a foundation where we can do lots of cool things.
Okay. This is from Richie Mallory. He runs a club in BC. The U.S. national teams are available to junior programs, typically at events, doing signings, taking pictures. Do you have any plans on the Canadian national team making themselves available more to expose themselves to the junior programs? And you guys did that last U14 nationals.
Yeah, I think we made some sizable efforts. We hosted a tournament. We've done things with our Give 5 initiative. We got players who are doing clinics, virtual clinics too. So the door is definitely open, but we're totally open for some feedback. If it's like, hey, I didn't get the word out, or like that didn't work for me. We definitely want to get better for that. But we worked pretty hard last summer to blow the door open.
Yeah, that was the most I've ever seen, to be honest, Tom. So that was good.
No, that's great. We want to be part of the fabric. We want our national team players to be players that the club players are looking up to and getting excited about being a part of, and that helps everybody. Us being a part of Nations League was huge. I mean, obviously it's not happening, but we were gonna have a leg in Ottawa. We were really excited about that. So hopefully we get back up and running to do that. So. We are all for it. It's something we want to do. I think it's things we've been doing. We had 3 red and whites throughout British Columbia that got, we were able to pack those gyms. But we're all open for feedback if there's better suggestions.
No, I think you took a huge step in the right direction from years past. So I know for my athletes that went to U14 nationals back in Richmond last year, they were extremely happy to get to take pictures and sign autographs and all that sort of stuff. It was good. Yeah,
that's great to hear.
What information do you want from an athlete for a kid who's a prospect, post-secondary player or national team player? What are the main 4 things that you look for? Is it standing reach? Is it their highest vert?
For the national team?
Yeah, let's go with national team first.
All I care about is how good they are.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. But for a kid that wants to go on to post-secondary.
Oh, like what? So is recruiting? Yeah, I think. Your height, your vertical, your grade point average, and then what club you pay for are the 4 big things. That gives us a baseline. We can start putting our list together and all that stuff.
Okay, fair enough. Well, Tom, I appreciate your time. We had lots of followers watching this, lots of questions. Sorry that there was such a headache to start this thing off, but we figured it out and we're able to make it work. So stay safe with this COVID-19 with you and your family, and hopefully we're all back on the court sooner than later.
Yeah, no, thanks for putting this together and all you're doing for the community. And let's keep this going. We can do it again.
Right on. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.